Casey, please explain to me why I had to get up at 4 a.m., get on a flight, and now I'm in an Uber in Houston, Texas.
Well, because we've been sent on an errand for our wives.
And maybe we should explain what that errand is.
Yeah, we're picking up a couple of new cars for them.
Oh, that's really nice. Not
Yeah.
our new cars.
No, we don't get new cars.
In fact, some cars you and I have never even driven.
No. Yeah, never driven them.
Never have, but they picked them out and they told us to get our butts down here and pick them up and drive them home. We do as we're told.
Always.
All that and next. Just so you know, it comes with the charger. All right, we made it. We're here at Mac Hike Chevrolet in Houston, Texas, Casey, and there's the wife's new ride right there. What is it?
That's right. It is a Blazer EV in RS trim and Summit white.
It is. It's very bright white. I like that. You don't normally order white cars.
No, I don't, but there were no red ones.
There's no red ones. Wait, there's a red one right there.
You got the last one.
I did get the last one, or I should say my wife got the last one. She called dibs first. And Casey and I are about to pop into the Blazer RS cars and head back to DFW. We've never driven these cars before, have we?
Just in the parking lot to move it right here. That's
oh,
it.
Okay. So you have driven one now,
Yes.
about 100 feet.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I still haven't driven the red one. We've been getting them all set up. We've been going through the Android setup in the car, the OnStar, and we're pretty much ready to go.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll cover a couple of things here first.
Okay.
Can you kind of go over some of the specs of the Blazer EV in this trim? This is the RS all-wheel drive.
All right, RS all-wheel drive, that matters because in the all-wheel drive, the battery size is 85 kilowatt hours.
Yes.
Okay. Both all-wheel drive and non-all-wheel drive have the same horsepower. It's just over 300, I think. But if you have the rear-wheel drive version, you're getting 102 kilowatt hour size battery.
Yes, I haven't really seen any of those available, but you get that 102 if you get, like you said, rear-wheel drive or the upcoming Blazer SS.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get the bigger battery pack.
Yeah. So you get more range with the non-all-wheel drive, but you get supposedly same horsepower, same 0 to 60 in the all-wheel drive. The range might come into play later on in this video. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's about 280 miles home, and we're going to test the 279 mile an hour range on these cars. Now, when people do real world testing, after some software updates, they've been getting over 300. So we're going to be really close. Oh, look at that. Casey's figuring out all kinds of things on the fly here. Yeah. But look, these cars, we've been looking at a lot of EVs lately.
We have.
And this wasn't at the top of the list necessarily. But...
No. Yeah, but we had to because there were screaming deals on these at the end of the year. A lot of lease cash and incentives available. And if you're on something like Lease Hacker, the incentives stack to the point where you could get one of these for less than $250 a month.
Yeah, and in Texas, that's almost impossible.
Yes.
Because of the way taxes are treated here. And, you know, leases aren't as attractive as they are in other states. But man, this was just one of those things where once we ran the numbers, we kind of had to. The ladies went and test drove them, and they said absolutely yes.
Yeah. So it's not exactly a free car with the gas savings, but it's pretty cheap. I'm more or less getting this for just the cost of insurance.
Yeah, almost.
When you factor in the gas savings.
Yeah,
so,
when you factor in what you were getting in that big old Suburban.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump in these things and we're going to head home. We're going to do some filming on the way.
Yeah.
We're going to stop and charge the cars. Okay. Yeah. And we'll run through our driving impressions and the technology and everything that came in the RS package on the way home. So stick with us, guys. Enjoy the video. All right, man. You about ready to roll out of here and head home?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. And this will be my first time and your first time driving the Blazer EV. So see if we can actually get out of the dealership and figure out the way home.
See if I can, how quickly I can adapt to this one-footed driving.
Oh yeah, I haven't even turned that on yet. There we go. Now it is.
Yeah.
Now it's back.
There we go. All right.
You got it figured out now?
Yeah, now I got dual maps going. Actually, I have triple maps because I have my heads-up display. Oh, which is very detailed. We're gonna have to get you guys some shots of that.
Yep, I got my lane assignments very crystal clear. Okay, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. I can tell you right away, I'm very happy with the amount of power. I wasn't looking for anything crazy fast. You know, my wife's gonna drive this every single day. It needs to be more smooth and comfortable. And so far, yeah, I like it.
It's zippy enough. I understand the complaints people have though, because you know, in the EV space, people like that instant torque, and people are kind of, you know, enamored with the heavy acceleration. This isn't like a Tesla. It's not that experience.
No, it's not. But it also delivers the range that it says it's going to. I mean, we've seen that in all GM products, right? I mean, it's definitely dialed in for that, not so much the speed. I mean, the RS comes very well loaded, especially with the driver and convenience package, right? So I've got heated and cooled seats up here in the front. I've got a heated steering wheel. I do have adaptive cruise control. I don't have active lane management. I sort of have departure assistance, so it'll kind of bounce you back into your lane, but it's not lane keep. But all I really wanted in that space was a really good dynamic adaptive cruise system, so we'll see how that works as we go.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm kind of the same way. If it's not going to fully self-drive, I'm not that interested in some of the lane keep stuff. But what I do like about electric cars is their adaptive cruise just seems to work better than an ICE car. Just because it doesn't have all of that weird lag in the transmission and stuff. It's way easier to modulate speed. So I'm cruising behind you right now, and it's super smooth. Yeah,
let's see. Yeah, I haven't even set mine yet.
Although I do wonder why you're going so slow. But whatever.
Well, there's a car in the middle lane up here going 60 on the highway. Everybody's going by them. So,
dude, we're
gonna go around here in a second.
We're in Houston, Texas.
We're gonna go around here in a second.
Those people are taking their life into their hands doing that. Look at this.
Yeah, they really are. They're living dangerously back there. Here we go. I am gonna try to keep it at around 70 most of this trip. Just at least half the trip. See how the range looks. Because I had an idea, Casey. I have an idea. Oh, there you go. Oh, God, you're going to go faster than that, huh?
No, it's okay. You can catch up to me. There wasn't a good spot for me to get back in line behind you, so.
All right. Well, it's 278 miles home, and our range when we left was right about 280, showing on the car. These cars are known to go further than 300 miles. People have had some pretty impressive numbers. Now, so I kind of thought, well, what if we see if at least one of these cars is going to make it all the way home? You have to go further, so you have to charge at some point. But I might not need to.
Really? Okay. So you want to push the limits, huh? See if you can make it all the way home?
Well, I'm going to give myself half of this trip, and we'll monitor it. I may have to bail out and charge halfway home, but I think we should at least try. So we'll monitor that, and we'll check in, and we'll keep everybody up to date on how that's going. Well, you're right on the heads-up display. I'm going to have to dial that up once I get settled into traffic here.
Yeah. It's getting a little bit difficult for me to see with my polarized lenses, which is definitely an issue with most heads-up displays.
Yeah.
Speaking of displays, I mean, on my camera, they can see the dual screen setup in here. One massive 14-inch display. That's standard on all the Blazer EVs. The center display, also standard, also has the ability to display your Google Maps, on this center screen right here. And I'm liking this setup. I can see everything on here. I can see my maps. I can see my state of charge, or my range at least. I can see my cruise control setting. I can see my current speed. Google's still not showing me the speed limit for some reason, but if it was there, it would be showing me that on here. It's also letting me know I'm in drive for some reason. But yeah, really cool screen. I've got one gripe. This is my first kind of gripe. Is I can't raise my steering wheel enough. The tilt function doesn't go up enough to avoid cutting off the top of this center screen, which is a pretty common problem these days.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because mine doesn't actually telescope out enough to where I would normally have it. So the height is okay, but yeah, I like to have it pretty close to me in a very relaxed position. So yeah, it would be nice to have a little bit more adjustability.
Maybe now, I mean, I mentioned Google Maps a couple of times. We should bring that up. So Blazer EV, full Google integration. So your factory navigation is Google Maps. It's not, you don't have to use Android Auto or anything to get to it. In fact, you can't. It doesn't do Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but it has native Google Maps. You sign in with your Google account. If you've already got one, no big deal. iPhone users might be SOL, but there's been some kind of gripes about this, just that you can't use your Android Auto. People kind of like that because they've got stuff stored on their phone or whatever, but there's a very good reason that GM is using Google Maps as their native navigation. Brian, why don't you tell them why that is?
Yeah, it is. It's all about the route planning for the EVs, and it's pretty stinking good. So it's going to show you where your next charging stops are and what your anticipated range level is going to be when you get there. And in the EV world, this is really, really important. If you don't have a good trip planner, an EV charging planner built into the software, that can be a big time frustration for road tripping. And actually, that's something we haven't touched on. You've never done a road trip in an EV, right?
Yeah. Well, and really, to me, like, I've always been interested in the EVs. I like driving them. For us to dip our toe in the water, I've never really been all that concerned with range or the ability to do road trips with EVs. To me, if I'm going to buy one, I'm fully intending on never charging it away from the house. However, this road trip we're doing right now is a road trip we do a few times a year. We've got family not far from where we picked up this car, and we do visit them occasionally. And so, I'm kind of interested in how this goes, what the charging infrastructure is like along the way, and how viable it is, because in fact, this is the nicest, newest car in our fleet now. And, while I've got a gas SUV that's going to do this road trip just fine, if we're doing a quick trip down here and we don't have a ton of stuff, this will be a much more comfortable and fun family road trip car.
Yeah, so I think today is a really good trial for how easy that's going to be. There's some charging stations in between here and home that are fairly new. They're high-speed capable, and we're going to stop at those, and we're going to at least charge yours up just to test that out. We'll make a decision on whether we're going to plug mine in or not. But there's now a lot more than there used to be. I mean, 5-6 times more on these routes between Houston and Dallas, no matter which way you go. And even 2 years ago, that wasn't the case. We did a road trip. We did one road trip in a 2020 Chevy Bolt, and it was a terrible experience. There was really only 1 or 2 charge spots for it, and that car charged at such a low speed, everybody got really frustrated and really tired of that. So today ought to be different. We're going to put it to the test and see, is this viable for doing road trips? And that's one of the reasons that we were attracted to the car, and it made the finalist list, and we ultimately decided to get these, is that it wasn't just going to be an urban commuter. It has the potential to do road trips. Excited to find out about it.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Either way, we should be able to do this trip. For those of you who don't know, DFW to Houston, it's roughly 4.5 to 5.5 hours, depending on which end of either city you start your journey. Ours was showing 280-ish miles to our destination. That's pretty close. You're going to be able to do this trip in a car like this, only stopping to charge one time, most likely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the cars that we considered, because I kind of drug you guys into this, right? We were looking, my wife definitely wanted an EV. We have an opportunity to send the oldest car in the home fleet off to college with a college freshman very soon. And so it gave us the opportunity to find something for her. And she said, I want an EV. So we started looking at everything. We looked at a ton of Ultium products. We looked at Lyric. We looked at Equinox. We looked at the Acura ZDX, which is an Ultium on the Ultium platform. We looked at a lot of cars. We looked at some of the more premium cars, Polestar 3, which we both test drove down at Circuit of Americas. Mercedes GLB, which is their entry-level EV. We drove a lot. And what's interesting is that even with within the Ultium family, those cars are radically different. And there's plus and minuses to all of them. And I think I hinted at this earlier. If I were to rank them in the ones we wanted, this one might have come in third out of 4 that we test drove. But the value proposition and with the lease is what just made it a no-brainer. But I will tell you, because I didn't get to drive this one beforehand, I feel like this is a really nice sweet spot between Lyric, ZDX, and then all the way down to the Chevy Equinox. It's comfortable. My seat's comfortable. I'll check back in on that in about 2 hours. But I have all the creature comforts that I want. I got good visibility. The materials are okay. What do you think of the material quality in this car?
No, I'm right there with you. You know, when we did test drive, I didn't test drive one. The wife test drove one a while back, and it was, you know, like stuff like this, our center console, and just the way this feels when you open it up. It's not as heavy. It's not as solid. You can tell the hinge doesn't feel as strong. You know, the seats are kind of strange. I forget what they call this, but even on this higher trim, you're getting a blend of cloth and leather and, well, synthetic leather and other stuff. There's some hard plastics in here. They've got a decent, now the RS does have a little bit more, I think, of soft touch material in a few places. But you know, I'll be honest, I'm very satisfied with it based on the price we're paying for the car. If I were buying this outright at $55,000 list, I would be disappointed.
That's a really good point, because cars are really expensive these days, and you need to sweat the details of, you know, what you're paying versus what you're getting, and make sure that you're getting enough value for your money. I think you and I, though, we've said this many times on different podcasts before. We would not buy EVs. It's not the smart thing to do. If you want to buy a car, go get a traditional ICE engine. EVs are very expensive. We're still early in the adoption curve, relatively speaking. And yeah, this thing is 55. This one was 55.90, and you could push these things well into 60K. Your Cadillac Lyrics go all the way closer to 80 or above, depending on the package that you get. And when you get in them, and most EVs, this is the case, the quality doesn't live up to the perception and price. But when you start to look at leasing, you start to look at the rebates that are available from the federal government, at least for now, and the incentives that manufacturers are putting out there, leasing starts to make a hell of a lot of sense, because EVs depreciate like crazy. And if you can get a good lease deal, then you're making the leasing company and the manufacturer eat that. You're not eating it, and that's what you want.
Yeah, and you bring that up, you know, saying, you know, leasing seems to be the way to go on these EVs. I mean, you've said that many times, you know, and I kind of nod, but I'm not really a leasing guy. In fact, I'm hardly even a new car guy. We almost never buy a new car. And so it was a little weird for me And the day we test drove the LT, we actually went to go test drive like a used Audi e-tron that was way less than half the list price of this vehicle, right? Very lightly used e-tron, a really, really nice car. We're very familiar with the Audi family. We love them. But when you started doing the math on a loan versus this car, and then looking at the amortization schedule and what you might be stuck with after 2 years, there is still a lot of uncertainty with EVs and what the market, especially on a given car. You know, what if there's a massive recall and people are afraid of the batteries again or something for that? There was just so much uncertainty with it that this felt like the best way to kind of dip your toe in the EV waters.
Yeah, it absolutely did. And oh, you brought up a great point. The deal that we got on this car is only 2 years. And, you know, normally when you do a 2-year lease on a car, it's more expensive. It was actually the sweet spot from General Motors this time around on this particular spec. It was the RS all-wheel drive. And, you know, talked to the sales guy. Kevin at Mac Hike did a tremendous job setting this up for us. We did go through Lease Hacker, so it's kind of a predetermined deal. But he said they still got 24 of those suckers out there. And so if you want to find one like this and you're looking for something here at the end of the year, I think they run through like the first week of January, hit those guys up. But go through Lease Hacker, sign up, submit your request through there. And yeah, we're looking at about $244 a month, 10,000 miles a year on this car. And there is a down payment, so your first month, and there is some additional fees up front. But honestly, the effective lease rate is still in the low threes. And over a 2-year period, that's crazy in Texas.
I think the effective lease rate is under 3. When you
yes.
count the first month's payment,
that's right, it is.
The down was only like $1,500 or something like that.
Yeah, it was very
cool.
Well, and I want to bring up something else we said on the channel. You guys that have come to the channel because of our Scout content, we said something in one of those videos about the wait for the Scout, and you said, well, let's be honest, there will be a car between now and the Scout. And I laughed at you and said, well, maybe for you. And yet here we are. Now we've both got one, and the lease is going to run out, hopefully just in time for Scout to start sending out maybe some order forms.
Yeah, well, the car's not going to be ready when this lease is up. No, but we'll definitely have a much better idea. You know, but this is such a good deal. A lot of times you get to the end of the lease, you can call them up and go, hey, I want to do another 6 months. And they'll just extend it out for 6 months because they don't want to take that car back at the current value. So this good deal may pay dividends for us down the road as we're waiting for the Scouts to come out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I hope it does. I mean, frankly, the longer my wife wants to stay in this car, the more it actually kind of maths out to make sense to add this extra expense, right? So we'll see how it goes.
All right, so we're just capturing all of the charging stations at this Buc-ee's, man. Tesla's everywhere. And I just saw a Mercedes pull out of there, so they must have been using a NACS adapter, which I have on order.
There was BMW there too.
Yeah. All right, but now we're going to pull up over here, and we are going to get some air on these tires, okay? So a couple of things that people early on with these cars complained about was the level of noise driving around in parking lots. I think that's interesting. It maybe through a software update, Chevy has turned down the volume. I could definitely hear it for sure. The other thing they complain about with that system is that when you pull up and you stop, that the noise is still going. So we're gonna pop up here, put this thing in park, see if Chevy fixed that. And if they didn't, does it bother us? So let's put the car in park. Noise went away. All right, so that's great. So through a software update, Chevy listened, made an adjustment to the pedestrian alert system. The other thing is, as I was backing up, Casey was just on my left side. He was putting his tire caps back onto his Blazer.
and it was definitely alerting me. It was vibrating the side of the seat on the side of the car that he was on. Okay, so you know, really good safety system so far. We'll keep looking at everything. All right, guys, one thing that I didn't think through in this whole make it home on one charge scenario is that my wife is at home and this is her car. I can't show up there without any juice in the battery. She's gonna wanna get out and drive this thing. And so I think I am, even if we could make it home on one charge, I am gonna have to stop at a high-speed charger. I do have level 2 at home, but that's gonna take a while and she's not gonna wanna wait. So Casey and I will sit down at lunch here in College Station and have some wings, have some ribs and some onion rings at Wings and More. And we'll figure out exactly where we're gonna stop and what that's gonna look like. All right, guys, I'm gonna make the call here. Gonna have to stop and recharge. So had a great lunch at Wings and More. Now we're back in the car. And when I got out of the car, the difference between my range and how far it is to home was about 2 or 3 miles. For whatever reason now, let's see, we've jumped to an 11-mile gap. Nothing really changed. In fact, it's a little bit warmer, so it's even better conditions, but for whatever reason, we're not gonna make it home. So I'm gonna stop up here at the Shell recharge station outside of Hearne, Texas. It's a pretty new station. They show 12 high-speed chargers capable of up to 180 kilowatts. And the reviews say there's hardly ever anybody there. So we're gonna stop, we're gonna check it out. Casey and I should be almost equal on range. And maybe we'll see who can charge to something like 240 miles of range the fastest. So check him out. He's hanging out back there in my rear view mirror. Love that thing. And let's give him a call and let him know what's going on. So we're just gonna reach in here, call him on the Bluetooth.
Hello.
How's it going back there?
Great.
All right, we're gonna stop at the Shell recharge, and I was thinking maybe we would have a charge off. We'll see who can get to 240 miles of range the fastest.
Okay.
We'll see how consistent those chargers are and how well they perform and how easy it is. There's an app. We're both signed up on the app, and we'll see if it works. It's your first time charging an EV.
It is. Okay. Well, I've got the Shell station into my, Google Maps, and it's telling me how long I should charge, what state of charge I'll have, and then where my next charging stop is. So it's telling me charge 10 minutes here, then 25 minutes further down the road, and then I'll have 30% left when I get home.
Ooh.
So I don't think we're going to do that. I would rather charge more here and try to charge once, but I thought that was a cool feature.
That is a really cool feature. I think we had this discussion at lunch. Like, I'd rather go ahead and do this one here because there's not a lot of people at it, supposedly. The one in Waco that's right on the interstate, there's usually a lot of people there, and so we might have to wait. So probably just better to let this thing take us up near 80% and or however long we can stand it, grab a coffee, and then go.
All right, sounds good to me.
Okay, I'm out. See you there.
All right.
All right, so we just had a stop at the Shell recharge. It didn't go perfectly. I think we kind of fumbled the football there when we pulled up, didn't we? A little bit.
We did. We weren't really prepared with the apps or anything to see how it works.
You tried to recharge somebody else's car.
Yeah, for sure. I selected the wrong machine.
Yeah, but supposedly you can pull up to these things, plug them in, and with all the app integration in the Android system, it should have let you kick off the charging session through the infotainment. But we bypassed all of that altogether. We just used the app standing outside the car.
Yeah, we need to try that on our next stop because you're right. You have the ability with this Google setup to download a few different charging apps straight to this screen. And so when you get there, you can pull them up. Like I did it while we were waiting. I signed in my app on my phone into the system here. So now I should be able to initiate charging and pay for it and everything like straight through the car. So I can't wait to test that out. We were there less than half an hour. I would say after we fumbled around for a while, maybe 20 minutes of actual charging.
Yeah, mine showed,
Is that right?
It showed 22%, 22% in 20 minutes added back into the battery. And so that's not that fast, honestly, but we started at around 60 and went to 80. And that's not where you want to be on the charging curve, right? For speed. Speed's going to happen in that 10 to 50, 10 to 60. So right. I think what we're going to do, we already decided we're going to stop again at Electrify America in Waco, and we're going to get on the high-speed chargers, and we're going to burn some electrons between now and there. In fact, I'm going to increase our speed once we get through this speed trap. Calvert.
The great Calvert speed trap.
Yeah, we'll make sure we got the AC running and try to get this thing down well below 50% by the time we get there. Right now it says 48%. I'd like it to be in the 30s. Okay. And we'll try the speed, and we'll see if we can get the app to do what the app says it can do. Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. We should point out, when we left, the system told us that we were going to be at negative 30% when we got home, right? So obviously we're going to have to charge. After that charging stop, it's telling me my state of charge here on Google Maps that we're going to be at 11 or 12% now once we get home. So not even necessary to charge most likely, but we're going to do it anyway for you guys.
We're going to do it. I will tell you what mine says right now. It says if you stop at Electrify America, 20 minutes of charging, and then you'll get home with 31%. So we'll see. Let's do it. We'll spend 20 minutes there. Maybe we'll go in Walmart, buy a tackle box. Maybe we won't.
Okay. Well, let's see how these things cruise at, let's say near triple digit speeds.
Whoa.
All right, Brian, we've been driving a while. We did a charging stop. We're planning another one. You have introduced me to the wonders of night mode. You can't see on Brian's camera, but you can see in mine. Significantly changes the look in here. But, I think... Do what?
Well, that was one of several things we corrected for you in the last, 20, 30 minutes.
That's true. That's true. I had 2 or 3 things I was griping about that turned out to be totally wrong. But I think we'll cover that in another video, or I might do a whole thing on the few little tiny things I don't like about the car. There's not very many so far. But speaking of, I thought we should talk about our driving impressions. We've been on the road for like 3 hours now. And we said we didn't actually get to drive the cars. We just let the wife sign off on it and figured, hey, if they like it, happy wife, happy life. And we'll just live with it. So what do you think?
Well, I think I told you I was scared I was going to hate this car. I really was. And after driving it for especially the last 30 minutes, because it's long stretches of open split highway, some really long curves. It's a nice drive, and it's a perfect place to really kind of stretch its legs. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving how it drives. This is a born highway cruiser, in my opinion. I mean, it's kind of spectacular.
Nail on the head there. We've talked about our love for the Chevy Bolt. It's probably my favorite car that GM's ever made. It's a great car. I love driving it around town. And part of me was a little disappointed that I was going to get this. I don't love the exterior of it that much. I was like, but the Bolt, if you're going to buy an electric car just to tool around and take the kids to school, like that feels like a better car. For that, I'm blown away by this. Like the highway cruising in this car is spectacular.
It is. It's planted, but it's not jarring. Like it's got just enough body roll where you want it. If you're hitting bad parts of the highway, and it's so smooth and so quiet. I have a huge gripe with Teslas. okay? Tesla's Model Y and Model 3 are so stiff and firm. They're not fun to ride around in. Even on a highway where you're not hitting potholes, you hit any sort of imperfection on the highway, like in the road, you feel it through your body, especially if you're sitting in the back seat. This is so far, and I know this is a brand new car, but man, this just feels great. I could knock out hundreds of miles in this, no problem. I've got it in my mode, so I've got the sport steering going right now, and I like how that feels. Pedal response is fine. I'm not wanting for more power or anything like that. It's great.
No, I mean, we've had a few of these big sweepers in the last 30 minutes, you know, at highway speeds plus, and it feels great going through those.
Yeah, it really does. And hey, I do want to point out, you said speed. We've been pushing it a little bit since the recharge because, like we said, we want to bring the battery down for the EA stop, and our range hasn't taken a hit at all. In fact, you know, it stayed steady. So
we're struggling to burn the electrons.
Yeah, we really are, and we don't have a tailwind or anything like that. We're not dropping elevation. It's just doing a really good job. I guess, you know, I guess they did a good job designing the aero on the car. And I did just notice, I don't know if it popped up on yours, but because I have the Electrify America stop in the route planner, it has started preconditioning automatically. It already started that for the charger.
Oh, how would I know that?
It popped up. I got a little notification in there. So in fact, you know, well, you do have yours programmed in, so maybe it'll pop up in a minute. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe so. That's interesting. Oh, is that a cop? It's not a cop.
Cop, not a cop.
Not that I would be worried if there was a cop. Cause
What I have to worry about. Nobody look at the speedometer.
Or your warrants. Or in your gym bag.
I do not have any warrants anymore, sir.
Well, you gotta take care of. In which state?
You know what? I'm going to plead the fifth on that.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, I don't know what else to say about the drive.
No, I think that's just it. I really expected it to be very similar to the Bolt, but bigger, which in my mind was going to make it worse. Because I feel like the Bolt, like everything about it is just completely right sized for purpose.
Yeah, it's an urban assault vehicle and great at it.
Right.
But not a highway vehicle. Kind of feels like you're on skates.
We should point out too, though, like, I mean, if you look at the exterior of this car, the wheels are pushed so far to the corners. It's so extreme. And I think that just really helps. Like the car, it feels super planted all the time. I really like driving it. The one thing I've had trouble with is, and yeah, it's a new car that I've not been in before, but I feel like it's been extra hard for me to get a feel for the limits of like the bumpers and where everything is. Parking has been a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big car. It's 192 inches long, 78 inches wide. It's not a baby by any means. All right, man, I'm going. Whee!
Yeah.
Man, when we get to I-35 and it turns into an absolute Rad Racer 4, only people our age get that reference. It's going to be game on.
Well, here we go. Here's a nice turn I can take.
Yeah, I didn't take it so fast, so you probably crawled right
That's
up
okay.
back.
It's nice, man. It's nice. That was a nice, pretty neutral feeling. You know, it doesn't corner like super flat. It corners comfortable, right? It's not meant to be a 3 Series.
Yeah, you still burned about 200 miles off your tires.
Well, yeah.
Just on that turn alone.
We should follow that saga. We should see which one of our wives gets to the indicators first.
Yeah, well, it's going to be yours, okay?
Yours is going to go through a set of tires in less than 10,000 miles. Well,
I don't know about that. We'll see.
she doesn't have the commute to really do that these days. Mine would tear through a set of brakes pretty fast if it wasn't for the reach-in braking setup. Like,
yeah.
Totally different scenario.
Yeah, that's
Shout out to the ladies.
You should go.
Your wife,
Thanks.
you should be standard practice is whenever she gets a new car is for you to put some track pads on it immediately. Just to withstand the heat generated on a daily basis.
And just so everybody knows, it's not because she drives fast.
No.
No. Far from it.
We're gonna cut all this out.
No, we're not. Thank you, ladies, for talking us into buying the Blazers. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
We might go back and get two more. Almost to Electrifying America.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're
It's the big
5-6 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my expected range at arrival has not changed. We'll do 20 minutes there, and then we'll bomb it home. And then it says fast charge prep.
Ready to plug in at any time.
So it already did.
Interesting.
It did it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because earlier it gave me, like a preconditioning button there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's something, I guess you can select the preconditioning temperature. And in fact, we've said the word preconditioning about 100 times on this video. Why don't you tell everybody what that means?
Oh, okay. I'll tell them what it means. There is an optimal temperature for the batteries to charge at. Okay, so it'll actually warm those suckers up to where it needs to be, so that by the time you get to the charger, you're right where you want to be, and it can take the highest rate of charge.
Going.
Oh, god dang it! I turned too early.
Oh.
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus! Oh, this is the content we are here for. Oh my god! Monkey see, monkey see, monkey do, and you just turned around in the wrong spot. Oh god, damn it, man! You got honked at because you nearly got killed. Oh my god, where did that car? Did they turn
Did
out?
you just hit somebody?
No, but did they just turn out of that shopping center?
I
did
think
not
so.
see them. And now we got somebody stopped in the middle. Pure chaos.
Look, no trip to Waco is complete without a near-death experience.
Dude, I'm definitely going to cut that up. That's going to be a fun one.
That's going to be the intro.
Oh, nearly died 3 times in the Walmart parking. Just trying to get to Walmart. All right, approaching the EA America Chargers, and
I'm still trying to turn.
Oh no, I see some open. That's good. You're still trying to turn?
Yeah, because somebody in a Hyundai Palisade
Oh, they decided
doesn't
to go
know
straight.
what the gas pedal does.
They don't know what the
They can't find it.
charger unavailable. Yay! So we've got 2 that are not working. So we got a guy waiting and queued up for waiting. So that's what we're gonna do. That's cool. That's cool. Electrify America, our stop in Waco. It kind of went exactly the way we thought it would go, didn't it, Casey?
Yeah, which wasn't great. It looks like it's an old charging station. It was in a Walmart parking lot. Apparently, the busiest Walmart in Texas. 2 of the chargers weren't working, and all the others were full. So we had to wait on chargers. And then, again, issues just like getting the app to work to initialize charging. The app says plug in, then start charging. But when you do it that way, then the machine tells you unplug, and then you have to unplug it and plug it back in. Then it kind of finally got going. I don't know. I'm finding the process cumbersome at the moment.
It is cumbersome, but eventually we were able to get it going after a minute or two. And we did see charging speeds, about 130 kilowatts at one point for a while. I mean, fairly consistent. And then as soon as we got up into, let's say 50, 60, well, it was about 60%.
In the 60s, yeah.
Yeah, it dropped off to around 80. And it stayed there until we were done, until I was done anyway. I'm not sure how yours ended up. But because there were so many people there, we kind of only charged the bare minimum. We were there about 20 minutes each.
Yeah.
And we got plenty of juice to get on the road and get home, so it's fine. But it does illustrate some of the pain, right, that still exists because, we drove past one charging station. I saw one car at it because the reviews are so bad. Online, it says most of them don't work most of the time. They're on a backup battery system. We drove to Buc-ee's in Hillsboro, Texas. The chargers are still under construction. They've been under construction for months. And there's really not much else between here and Dallas-Fort Worth. We'd have to go out of our way on the way home to get to another Electrify America station or another Buc-ee's.
Yeah, well, I think that just kind of illustrates the point. Look, for my use case, we intend to be like 99% home charging, if not 100% for the life of the car. Now, if this was easier, would we be more likely to maybe take this all the way to Houston to reverse this trip? Yeah, maybe in the future. But it's not necessary for us. And I think what this highlights is I don't think we're breaking any ground here. In fact, I think James May was the first guy to really kind of put this out there in automotive circles. Like, the whole argument around range and range anxiety and the problem of EVs has really been framing this wrong. It's not a range problem. It's a recharging problem. My LX only goes like 200 miles on a tank, and I don't care at all because I can throw another 200 miles in that thing in less than 5 minutes at like thousands of locations across America, and I'll pretty much never have to wait on a gas pump. Go to the bathroom, grab a snack, get in the car, and go. EVs just aren't there yet, and I think constantly worrying about range the charging network's improving, I think really underestimates just how much the charging network needs to improve and what it needs to replicate in order for the EVs to be viable as your only vehicle.
No, I think all of that is fair. There are tons of folks out there who cover this in depth. It's pretty much all they cover in the YouTube space or in the media. And, they've learned to live with those pain points, and they've also learned to work around them. They might do a coast to coast road rally, for instance, but they're going to choose that route, coast to coast, that most benefits them and the experience. And they have so much experience with it. They know which chargers are most likely to work. They read extensive reviews on which chargers at which locations work best. And they'll select cars to do that trip in. But for the average consumer who doesn't have that kind of time, who really just demands convenience and is going to take the path of least resistance, when it comes to shopping for a car, if you need a road trip, this is still an uphill climb for anything not named Tesla, right? So you'll hear that a million times in the automotive industry. You want a road trip in a car, just get a Tesla. And I will say this to people. If you go drive a Tesla and you like it, just get one if you want an EV. Just do that because it's going to solve most of your problems. Now, why are we in something like this? Because Tesla is not a product that I'm interested in on a day-to-day basis. I've been in all of them.
Yeah.
I've been in every single one, and they're really, really cool. They have some unbelievable technology in them. There are people who worship full self-driving. I mean, they just cling to every new release and pick it apart, and they love that technology. That's not that important to me, and we actually ran a poll on our Twitter account asking people how important it was, and it wasn't at all to most buyers. They don't think that way. And so to reach those people, and they also don't need 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. To reach that audience, you need to give them the whole car. They need to have comfortable materials, interesting materials and design. It can't look like the clearance section at an IKEA, which I'm sorry, that's what Tesla looks like to me. It's so basic. And, you know, other car companies are not held to that standard. They could not roll out what Tesla has rolled out, and people accept it. It's just, that's not their audience. It's not the majority of buyers. And so the majority of buyers are they're only gonna go down this route if they need to road trip or drive significant miles once the charging network is there. That's it.
To think of Tesla users similar to Apple aficionados, right? Like every inconvenience dictated by this really inflexible machine is somehow twisted into a feature for the diehards of the brand, and that's fine, but it's just not going to work for mass appeal.
Yeah, and I will give I got to give the entire company a ton of credit and the vision for it, which was they recognized these problems from the very beginning, and they tackled it head on, right? So we're going to make the charging network the major attribute of the brand, and it is. That's the brand. And, you know, that's where all the value is. As a car company, the value of the brand is in the network. And it's why they've been able to go out and sign all these deals with other manufacturers and open it up, because they're getting more and more value out of the most valuable piece of their company. You know, so great. I applaud them for that. I would not drive one. I don't want to drive one. I have driven them. I'm not interested. Now, I do think the best, I'm going to save that for another day. I'm just going to say this. We have the Cybertruck review coming. You may see that one before you see this one. I don't know. We'll see. But we got one coming. And it's probably worth your time to check that out. So now, we should wrap this one. Because Casey, I think we got a lot of plans for this car, right? This is all about driving home and the first experience, but we want to do a lot more with it.
Yeah, we do. We want to talk all the interior features, all the quirks and whatnot of this Google system. You know, our probably top 10 favorite things, top 10 worst things about it. We'll do all of that. There'll probably be multiple videos over the life of these cars for us. Just about, you know, what it's like living with EVs, especially like for me as kind of a first-time owner. So yeah, definitely subscribe to the channel, and we'll be putting out a lot of content around these. But I think it's fair to say, you know, after buying a car sight unseen, kind of, we're extremely happy with the purchase.
Yeah, overall really happy. I can't wait to get into all the little idiosyncrasies that you talked about, because we learned a lot over the last 4 hours. We solved some things, we found some others, we encountered charging difficulties. There's charging networks near our house, you know, within an hour or so where we live, that are brand new to the US. We got the Mercedes-Benz network, which I think runs off of the Iona chargers. We've got all kinds of things to go check out with these, and so really look forward to doing that with you guys, and hope you guys come along for the ride. And with that, I think we will shut down the video. So I'm sure Casey right now is doing an awkward wave on camera, fade to black.